Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the channel. Dope Soul Sports Talk. Dope Soul Knicks Talk, a member of the NBK family. Today, I'm back in the neighborhood going around the block. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I'm back in the neighborhood going around the block with my guy, the creator and owner of the Blanche Tears YouTube channel and the self-proclaimed, what do you say, #1 chief rocker?
The #1 appointed, voted for #1 chief rock at Knicks University, main man Uncle Freezie. Talking that Knicks talk the way that y'all like to have that talk. Talk to y'all. What's good, everybody?
There you go. There you go. Today we're talking RJ Barrett. He's been performing, pretty well in the exhibition games leading up to the FIBA games. We're going to talk Embiid. If he were to become available, is he the guy the Knicks should push their chips to the middle of the table for? And, when Freezie and I get together, anything else is liable to pop off.
Yeah.
Freezie, how are you? Salute to the chat.
I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. But hey, chat, listen. I was talking to Queen B about just now about how, you get your conference calls during the day, how you get your Zoom calls. You might have like 4 of them in a day, like 3 of them in the morning. 2 of them are supposed to be short. And then you have 1 late afternoon. And then you get somebody on the call. And they just totally off topic. And it just throw your day all the way off. Y'all know the vibe. Y'all know the vibe, man. They just throw your day all the way off, man. And that's where I'm at right now. But we in the neighborhood, we're going to talk that talk the way that y'all like to have that talk to y'all. I got an opinion on RJ Barrett and on Joel Embiid and some other stuff. So, Queen B, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of the fan base know where I stand on RJ Barrett. And I do want to make clear that my comments on what RJ Barrett has been thus far really has nothing to do with who he can be. I don't think any of us know with certainty who RJ Barrett or any of the Knicks players can be.
Right.
I'm down on RJ Barrett from what I've seen up to this point. But he's shown flashes throughout the multiple seasons he's been with the Knicks. Watching the highlights of FIBA, it seems like, I don't know if he's doing anything different, but he's doing it better, similar to the playoffs in which he was playing his game. He was hitting threes at a little higher rate. He was finishing at the rim at a higher rate. His floor game seemed to be much better, seemed to be on those drives, really seeing players and making the pass. He looked like he was part of the team, whereas there were times during the season where he looked like he was playing in his own separate playground.
Right.
So I'm actually hopeful that RJ Barrett will be better for the entire season. And then I'm also hopeful. I think part of it could have been him also adjusting to Brunson and Randall. His role changed from the year before,
Right.
and another year in the system with those 2 guys. I anticipate, I'm hopeful that RJ Barrett will get better. So my question to you is, given his play last season, given his play in the playoffs, given what you may have seen of his FIBA highlights, or maybe you've watched some games,
Right.
what are your expectations for RJ Barrett next season?
My expectation of RJ is for him to continue to be wildly inconsistent.
Mm.
Yeah, and I love RJ Barrett. I just don't know if he's the fit now that the dynamic has changed. When it was RJ and Randall, I could see them as a duo, but now that Brunson is here, is RJ Barrett designed to be the third banana? Listen, man, RJ Barrett ain't gonna have me punching the air like Trey, like Trey from Boys in the Hood was punching the air. And you know what I'm saying? After the RJ Barrett ain't gonna have me doing that, and I'm not gonna get my expectation. My expectation for RJ Barrett is to continue to be a young player that's trying to find his way. I think he still got much growing to do. I don't think if it clicks for RJ, if it clicks for RJ, and we start getting the RJ that we want, what is that ultimately? Because I don't see it being Chris Middleton or Rudy Gay, right? But I also, excuse me, don't see it being Jimmy Butler, and I also don't see it being Jay Crowder. So RJ Barrett is going to be some that weird morphing of something. I don't know what it is. So if it comes together for RJ, what is it? What is a developed RJ Barrett?
Well, that was my next question to you. But first, I want to ask you something, what you said in the beginning of your comments. He's going into his fifth year. Am I correct?
Yep, the fifth
So,
season
right. So you said that you still expect him to be a player who's coming into his own. At what point do
developing.
you
Right,
arrive or show a bit more of what you're going to be? It's going into year five. And again, I'm not saying he can't take a next step. I'm not saying his development is, uh, is finished. But what I am saying is going into year five, I don't know if I'm still expecting him to be wildly inconsistent because this is just what happens as you're
right,
going into your
right,
fifth year.
right, right. And my thing with RJ, if RJ was the standard NBA player, then I'd be totally on board with what you said. Right? If RJ was just a what you would expect from the number 3 pick, then I'd be totally on board with what you say, because what you say makes sense in a standard textbook type scenario. But RJ Barrett has shown us certain things, some signs over the years that if we ignore, for instance, RJ Barrett has check engine lights on, right?
Hmm.
Like every season he starts the season out slow,
Hmm.
right? And we can't ignore that because this is year 5. If we expect year 5 to be different than year 1, 2, 3, and 4, then that's not an RJ issue. That's us. And then 2, there are stretches in the season, usually from the middle of January to about the All-Star break, where RJ
Hmm.
Barrett looks like he can be a superstar in the league, where he'll score about 28 points a game. He'll
Hmm.
have his breakout. He'll score his 40-point game and things of that sort. And then after that, come March and April, he'll disappear again. And then also during that stretch where he scores all those points, his defense will disappear. And that's a trend for RJ. And so in those wild inconsistencies, and I'm not picking on him, I'm just going by data. These are things that we see every year. So if RJ say shores up all those things, then I'll definitely be ready and willing to change my thought. But every year he starts the year off slow, looking like he put on too much weight. The jump shot's not there. May even struggle from the free throw line. Um, and then he'll catch up. He'll make his adjustments, and then he'll look like, wow, RJ should be. If he keeps this up, he might make the All Star team. And then there's like the precipitous fall off. And so what I'm saying to you is I think what we've seen from RJ is who RJ is as a player. For instance, are we expecting RJ to be a 38% 3-point shooter? Right? I would say no. We hope that he can get to 35, 36% and hold it in the road right there.
Right.
Right. But to expect RJ to be consistent with all these facets of his game, I think that might be more wishful thinking for us, because RJ makes adjustments during the season. He gets better at some stuff, and then when he focuses on certain things, there's always drop offs in other areas.
Yeah. I mean, I think what makes me hopeful is he played well in the playoffs. Now, statistically, his 3-point percentage was just slightly above the
Slightly
regular
above.
season.
Yep.
His points per game was even, maybe slightly above, if I remember correctly, the regular season. And I keep mentioning this, his floor game, and by that I remember just reading the game right, making the right plays, playing within the flow of the offense, coming up big in spots was
Right.
very different in the playoffs. So
Right.
that's one reason I'm hopeful. The second reason is I'm seeing the same thing in the FIBA highlights. Now he plays tomorrow. The first game in the actual FIBA World Cup tournament is tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. on ESPN Plus, I
Right.
believe.
Okay.
And I have my alarm set to watch that game because otherwise, I'm not going to remember without the
That
alarm.
wing,
Without the
you know
alarm.
what I'm saying?
But from the highlights that I was able to see, it seems like his floor game is still good. Now, I don't know if FIBA and that type of international play lends itself to that. Like you
Right.
get into that environment and that's just how you play. You move the ball, you make the right plays, you hit the open guy. But I'm seeing more of the same from the playoffs in FIBA, right?
Right.
So I'm hopeful that that will continue in the regular season. Listen, RJ Barrett is not a great 3-point shooter. At least he hasn't been. I know his second year he was very good. But if he's 35%, I'm happy. That's still, I believe, below average for his position. But if he's 35%, I'm happy. If he's finishing at the rim, I'm happy. If his floor game is the way it is in the playoffs and in these FIBA exhibition games, I'm happy. The thing with RJ, and it's really not his fault, is given his production, given his efficiency or lack thereof, given any advanced stat you want to look at, RJ Barrett should not be getting the shot attempts and the focus, of the offense the way he has been getting since he's been in the league.
Right.
Usage, shots per game. There's nothing in his advanced stats, in his efficiency, in his game when you watch him that would lead you to believe that he should be taking 16 shots a game. But a lot of that is on the coach. A lot of that is on the front office in terms of how they constructed the team. Who else should take those shots? I know there's some, shout out to JJ that's in the chat, who mentioned last year that Grimes should be getting those shots. I'm not sure Grimes is ready to get 16 shots a game, or at least last season. Maybe quickly, you know. But part of the problem has been that his minutes, his usage, and his shots per game are not consistent with his efficiency, with the
Right.
advanced stats, with what you see. Now, will that change this year? I think that will help RJ Barrett. See, a lot of
Right.
times somebody will look when you put them in a position that they're not, I wouldn't say ready for, but that's just not their role. I don't know if you can expect them to look good.
Right.
He is not in the role he should be in. And I think if his role decreases a little bit and his shot attempts decrease a little bit, perhaps we'll see a better version of RJ Barrett. So either two things are going to happen. He's going to step his game up so that to justify his usage and shot attempts per game, or his role is going to have to decrease, one or the other. um I just don't think we can continue he can continue to have the usage and the role that he has, given the production that we're getting from that position. Your thoughts on
Right.
that, or anything else you want to say?
If we, I'm going to say this: either RJ Barrett becomes a more efficient scorer, or trade him. See, because the thing about
Mhm.
what you're saying, and what a lot of other Knicks fans are saying, give Quentin Grimes more shots, give IQ more shots. Dante DiVincenzo is going to take more shots. So the Knicks were 11th in the league in shot attempts last year, right? We went from 28th to, I think, 23rd to 11th last season. right? Under tips. Oh, excuse me, under tips. Sorry about that, y'all. Um, so I'm thinking the Knicks are probably going to finish somewhere in the neighborhood about 7th. But even with that said, that's probably only about 2 more a shot per shot attempts for this team, right?
Mhm.
So with that said, I'm thinking even those 2 more shot attempts will probably go to Grimes,
Mhm.
right? Those would be Grimes and DiVincenzo clean up the Deuce McBride, Obi Toppin shot attempts, right? So that should probably amount to about 8 or 9 somewhere shot attempts per game, right? Maybe not that, maybe not even that many. My thing is, if you take shot attempts away from RJ Barrett, is there anything else on the basketball court that he does well enough for you to keep him around? Is he an above average defender? No. Is he an above average rebounder? No. Is he an above average assist man? No. Is he an above average steals guy? No. Right? So if you take shot attempts away from RJ and everything else is below average, I think you got to move RJ Barrett and go get you a guy that's gonna satisfy what you want at that small forward position, right? Because changing his role, say, hey RJ, we don't want you to be a slasher anymore. We
Right.
don't want you to take shots like that anymore. Then what else are you getting, right? And so now it's like, oh geez, all right. So we got a guy that can't shoot, he can't defend, he don't rebound, or he's not a great rebounder. He's not a great assist guy. What do you have him here for? He's not a fit.
Right.
Then in that case, I think you got to start scouring the landscape for a small forward that fits that role that you're looking for. And I'm not saying that because I dislike RJ Barrett. I'm just saying
Right.
that if we're talking about getting all the purpose out of the asset
Right.
that we have,
Right.
then if we start trying to repurpose the asset, then I would say don't repurpose it, sell it, and get an asset that fits.
Easier said than done, though.
Definitely easier said.
Easier
It,
said than
yeah.
done. But you bring up
But let me ask
uh,
this just real quick.
mm-hmm.
What's easier to do though? What's easier to do? Get RJ Barrett to shoot 38% from three, 44% from the floor, or trade RJ and bring in a guy that does?
I think it's about equal.
Both
Because
both are tough, right? Both are
both
tough.
both are tough.
Yeah.
I don't think RJ Barrett's bread and butter will ever be as a shooter. Like that was
Ooh.
the issue coming out of Duke. He's been in the NBA going on his 5th season and it hasn't changed. I don't really see that. I always thought, I shouldn't say I always thought, probably around his 3rd season, I thought if RJ Barrett is going to make his mark in this league, it's going to be as an all-around player.
All around player.
You
Right,
know,
right,
that
right.
he was gonna be that guy who would be a ball mover, you know, make the hockey assists,
Right.
drive to the lane, draw the
Glue
defense,
guy. Yep.
set people
Connector.
up, a
Yep.
glue guy, really good rebounder out of that position. And I thought he would be a better defender than he was. So I thought
Right.
he would be able to defend his position.
Right.
That's how I saw RJ Barrett making his mark in this league, probably around his third season. Now, to your point, the defense is not there.
Right.
Now in the playoffs and in FIBA, he is that ball mover, setting guys up, and I hope that continues. That'll be a part of it. But to your point, when you look at the construction of this team, we have that now. Like the role that I would wanted RJ in, we have that in Hart. We have that. You can even argue in DiVincenzo.
Yep.
So we might, to your point, even though I came on thinking, I'm hopeful that he'll be better and I'm hopeful that he can have, a most improved season, and he still can. Um,
How does he do that?
it's also possible that things continue the way it is, partly because of the way the roster is constructed.
Right. Right. Now, none of us are saying that RJ Barrett can never be that what we all want him to be.
Right.
I'm speaking to the likelihood of it all coming together in one summer
On this team.
on this team. Right, right. See, and then now when you think about that stuff, you're like, will it ever come together for RJ? I'm gonna say, mm, I don't know. I just want to leave it open as a Knicks fan, but as an NBA fan, I don't see it happening. But
Right.
my thing is can RJ without all that stuff still impact winning? Because ultimately, what we want is to win.
Right.
So can he? Yeah, and see, it's tough. It is tough. And then, do you move RJ and disrupt the chemistry that you have on the team already? You know what I'm
It
saying?
depends on who the player is. I'm for taking a short term hit in chemistry if I think long term,
Mm,
it's going to help the team. But I will say this for RJ: if RJ hitting his catch and shoot shots at 35%, he's finishing at the rim, and he's making good plays off of his drives, that's going to help the Knicks.
okay. Okay.
That's going to help the Knicks. Like when I think about what role can he play next season, given who we have, given how Brunson and Randall are entrenched as our top um, two
To
players.
do it. Yeah, a
Yeah,
dynamic duo. Yeah.
right. What is RJ's role next season? And that is, he can have a different role when he's in that second unit, but when he's in that first unit, he needs to be better at catch and shoot because he's going to get a lot of shots off of Brunson and Randall.
Right. But
And
but I'm sorry.
mhm. And that in that second unit, when he has the ball in his hand, probably a bit more, and he's able to drive to the basket, I want to see him finishing or facilitating off of those drives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finishing and facilitating off the drives. And I don't think this is going to happen because he looks a bit more bulked than last season. But
Right.
I would like him to defend his position. Defend
Yeah.
your position. That's the role I see for RJ Barrett next season.
Right. Right. And here's too. Here, I'm gonna put a fly in my own ointment. Right. I'm just gonna put a fly in my own ointment by saying, generally, when you're talking about fifth year guys, how can I say that, right? And then Jalen Brunson had a breakout last year in his fifth year, and Julius Randle had a breakout in his fifth year, right? And guys around the league go through their paces, and then in the fifth year, you hear about certain guys Jeremy Grant, like in his fifth season,
Mhm.
the Kyle Kuzmas in his fifth season, the Josh Harts in his fifth season have this surgence of a coming together, so to speak.
Right.
And so to say that RJ won't do it, it kind of makes me think the question that you ask is an excellent, well thought out question, because who's to say that RJ, with his talents, can't do the same thing as some other NBA players have done? My thing is I'm frustrated with RJ always coming to camp looking like he put on 10 pounds. And maybe he has, I don't know. But I'm frustrated with RJ always starting off the season slow, can't get off the floor. Like I saw the Drew Hanlon workout video where he was throwing up a floater, and RJ Barrett was not getting any lift off the floor at all. It looked like a granny push shot. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. I think we'll see with RJ. It's definitely intriguing, with the whole RJ Barrett. RJ? What are you gonna do, man?
Right.
Like, what are you gonna
What do
do,
you want
RJ?
him? Given how our roster is constructed, how do you see his role next season?
How do I want it, or how do I
How,
see it?
ooh, how do you want it?
So this is what I want RJ Barrett to be, right? I want RJ Barrett to be a 7 rebound a game player, right? A steal and a half player,
Mm.
right? RJ Barrett, make your work in the margins because we already have high volume scorers on this team. And I know some people say the only thing better than a steak dinner is 2 steak dinners, right? But what I'm saying is you already have Randall, you already have Brunson, right? Those dudes take enough punishment, bro. You don't see RJ, and I know RJ takes punishment going to the rim, but you don't see RJ taking punishment on the floor in other places. You don't see RJ Barrett drawing charges often enough for it to be recognizable. You don't see RJ Barrett putting his body on the line to rebound, right? You see RJ Barrett. Queen Bee, listen. I think you told me if you played basketball, and I'm just gonna assume that you did because I think somebody told me you was like 6'4" or something. So I'm gonna assume that you played
6 feet.
basketball, right? Right. You said 6'8"?
6 feet. 6 feet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Women always lie about their height, but yeah, I got you. So if you played basketball before, right, and say you made 8 trips down the floor, right, 8 trips up and down, back and forth, back and forth. You got 4 rebounds. 2 of them rebounds, you got scratched across the face, and you look at your arm, and your arm got scratches all the way down, right? And you're like, dog, I can't even remember when I got scratched, right? And then you look up, and RJ Barrett is in your face doing it. You're like, RJ, come on, bro. Why are you, a small forward, wanting me to rebound so that you can get the ball and push it, right? RJ Barrett, if RJ Barrett is a forward, if he's playing the 3, we need RJ on the glass,
But
right?
he's averaging 6 rebounds, though. You don't think
I
that's
need more of that.
wow?
Because think about this. Think about this. We don't have a center that's averaging double-digit rebounds, right? We don't have a center that's averaging double-digit rebounds, whether it's whoever it is. We got Randall, who always start the season averaging like 13 rebounds a game, and then after the All-Star break, he start cruising. That's my knock on Randall. I think Randall start cruising after. I think Randall and I love Randall too, by the way, and it's not Randall slander. I just think Randall is a all-star stat pattern. Like he gonna average 23 and 13 until the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, he gonna average like 26 and 9. Right. But RJ, I want RJ on the glass. I want RJ taking charges. I want RJ doing all the stuff that we see other guys like OG Anunoby and them do. Right. And I'm not
Right.
saying that OG Anunoby is a more gifted rebounder or any of that stuff. But the stuff that you see, the Jimmy Butlers of the world, for instance, when's the last time RJ Barrett had a triple-double? Chat, when's the last time RJ Barrett had a triple-double?
They're not easy to come by, in all
I,
fairness, though. But
I
I
know
hear you.
they're not easy to come by for guys that shoot a lot, but the dudes that want to rebound and want to
Do the other
assist.
stuff.
Yeah. What I'm saying is I'd like to see more of those 14 8-8 games from RJ.
Yeah.
You,
Yes.
you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That's what I'm talking about. Not 14 8-8 because you took 20 shots. I'm talking about RJ Barrett took 8 shots, 14 rebounds. I'm sorry, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals. When's the last time RJ Barrett blocked a shot?
Okay. So
I
you're
want to.
looking for him to be an
If
all
he's
around
gonna
player.
be the Swiss Army knife, be the doggone Swiss Army knife. Don't do it with the basketball in your hands. Is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If we want RJ Barrett to be the all around guy, then commit to being the all around guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Scottie Pippen is top 75 all
Mm.
time, and he didn't take 20 shots a game. And I'm not saying Scott Pippen is RJ Barrett is Scott Pippen athleticism. What I'm saying is Scott Pippen embraced a role like he was going to be the Swiss Army knife,
Right.
Like Grant Hill, Swiss Army knife that could score. If RJ Barrett is going to be the complimentary number 3, we don't need him being the number 3 as the backup scorer to Brunson and then the backup scorer to Randall. We need him to do all the ancillary stuff that Tibbs is begging. Tibbs is begging somebody to step up in that role. And I think that's the reason why they traded for Josh Hart, because RJ won't embrace that role of a all around guy.
That's actually that's actually a good point. Do you think though this is gonna be his second year coming in, his second year playing with Randall and Brunson? I mean, you can argue that it was tough for him last season. The year before, he was the number 2 guy. Randall was going through his emotional season. A lot of the fan base thought that RJ was about to take over and be the number 1 guy, and Randall was
Yeah.
either going to take a backseat to RJ or be off the team altogether.
Right.
And I don't know if RJ believed that, but then the next season came. Randall was back to form, even better.
Right.
The Knicks had brought in Brunson. I don't even know if they thought Brunson would be who he became last season.
Right.
And now here's RJ searching for a role, basically. Do you think that had something to do with his play last season, just not being able to find his place in the offense or maybe even on the team?
Hey, you remember when I'm gonna answer that question, right?
Mhm.
But you remember when we were doing shows with Sim on MBK, and there used to be panels of a lot of us that eventually went on to start our own channels. Like it would be
Mhm.
I think I had left just before you arrived.
Mhm.
But the panel, it was like me and Guillermo and some others that had, you know what I'm saying, that had been there. And so when I wanted to be, I wanted to be the Kobe of that. Sim would ask a question,
Mhm.
and I wanted to be the Kobe of that. But the thing about it is, I couldn't be the Kobe of that because there was a Who's Mark and there was a Guillermo there, right? And so Guillermo was the Kobe Bryant of that group, right? Right? And Sim was the Phil Jackson of that group, right? So instead of me trying to be the Shaq of that group, which was Who's Mark, I decided to, in order for me to get in where I fit in, I was the Trevor Ariza of that group,
Mm.
right? I settled into that Trevor Ariza role. Like sometimes I could be the Kobe. Sometimes I could score. Sometimes I could defend. You know what I'm saying? With RJ being the number 3 pick, it being the number 3 pick, a top 3 pick, gives you this mindset like I should be better than most guys in this league, right? But after about 2 or 3 years, that top 3 pick mentality got to go out the window. You know what I'm saying? You got to be in a nutshell, you got to contribute any way possible.
Right.
Right. So if you're RJ and your feelings are hurt because or not feelings hurt, let me phrase it a different way. Your ego is bruised a little bit because you thought you should have been a franchise guy, but Randall had a breakout and Jalen Brunson showed up and he's the man. Instead of thinking about me, I should be thinking about us. And so if you're RJ, Jalen Brunson is a top 5 point guard in the league. You're not better than him. Julius Randle was a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA Most Improved Player, right? Right. Randall's better than you right now. So if you're RJ, you got to get in where you fit in, man. You gotta
Right.
go chase down those boards, dive for loose balls, right? Try to block some shots, RJ. You know what I'm saying? Do the ancillary things, because ultimately what helps teams win is not having a star-studded top end of the roster. What helps teams win championships is all the guys that support the stars, right? Because there are plenty of teams in this league that have one great player and they win 45 games a year,
Right.
right? And people think, well, if you go get 3 more stars, you'll win a championship. Nah, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. For every Steph Curry, there is a Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala. For
Right.
every Michael Jordan, There are your Steve Kerrs, John Paxson, Scott Burrell, Stacey King, all those type, Bill Winnington, all those types of dudes. You know what I'm saying? So if
Right.
you're RJ and everybody knows you're the third best player on the league third best player on the team right now, and we're saying right now
Right.
because we think Quickley and Grimes are closer on his heels than a lot of us acknowledge. A lot of us think that Grimes might be better than him right now if given more opportunity, right? I think Quickley, and this is my opinion, I think Quickley is a better player than RJ Barrett right now and has been for the last 18 months, right? That's my opinion because I look at defensive metrics and I look at like rebounded percentage. I look at assist percentage. You know what I'm saying? I look at field goal against. I look at three-point percentage. I look at true shooting. So I look at
Right.
all these things and they tell me that Quickley is better than RJ. But since Quickley plays an occupied position by Brunson, RJ gets to start. But if both of them were the same size, Quickley would be in that spot. Sorry, RJ. But if you're RJ,
Yeah.
it's got to be beyond it got to be beyond RJ Barrett's Hall of Fame speech and be more about the New York Knicks championship parade. Is
Right.
basically what I'm getting at.
And what he can do
To help
what he
facilitate that, help get
yeah.
us there.
So I want to push back to something you said earlier about when all of you guys were on the show and Sim was Phil Jackson and Gmo was Kobe Bryant and who were you again?
Trevor Ariza.
Trevor Ariza. I would say that you were James Harden, just playing your role until you got your own team,
Okay.
and that's when you broke out. You
Okay.
know that
Right. Right.
that
Right.
happens too. You just playing your position because
Right.
that's not your role on the team, and then you
Right.
go to another team or you get your own show, and then you become that guy. So
And then the next thing you know, we rocking on lunchtime hours on Thursdays,
there you
helping people
go.
get through their work week.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. Um, it's going to be interesting to see. To your point, I kind of thought that last season. During the season, I thought RJ is focusing too much on scoring. It just
Right.
seemed to me that him being a 20-point scorer meant something to him. There was
Right.
times he would hijack the offense, and I know some will say, "Well, Randall hijacks the offense all the time," but
Right.
when you're the best player, or arguably the best player on the team, it's your playground. Quite frankly, um, where he would just reset the offense at half court. you know,
Right. RJ backing all the way up to New
right,
Rochelle to run the pick and roll.
right. And I think I just think his focus was off. I just think that perhaps being the third pick in the draft, just feeling like I have to live up to that. And living up to that means scoring 20 points a game. That's what that means. And
Right.
hopefully, you know, he's seeing it differently now because in the playoffs, he was different. His game was different. Now, I
Right.
will also say in the playoffs that Randall's role wasn't as prominent because of the injury.
Right.
And perhaps that gave him room to be more of who he is, right? Leading some credence to the argument that perhaps he's just having a hard time finding his way with Randall and Brunson. We shall see. We shall see.
Right.
But if that catch and shoot is going and he's finishing at the rim and he's defending his position, I'm super happy with RJ Barrett.
You know what I think he can do to fix all of it?
Mhm.
I think you know how you put your puzzle together and all the pieces are scattered and you're like, man, this puzzle. If RJ Barrett shot 86% from the free throw line, he wouldn't be getting fouled as much going to the rim,
Mm,
and he can get his 20 points per game on
yeah,
less shots.
yeah.
Right? That it's as simple. RJ, man, listen, knock down your free throws, bro. If you make teams fear fouling you, they wouldn't foul you, RJ. I mean, even if you continue doing the same stuff, they don't fear RJ Barrett at the free throw. They don't fear 74% or 73% at the free throw line. That's like what a center should shoot. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, RJ, if you do that, if you do that, bro, then you know what I'm saying, they gonna start um not closing it out as hard
Mhm.
on your 3-pointers because they won't want to foul you so you can go to the free throw line. And then when you attack off the bounce, you know what I'm saying, guys are not going to be coming in there like kamikaze pilots.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Just if RJ and I'm saying 86, if RJ got it to 80, you would see the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Salute to the chat. I am not in my usual spot, so that's why you may see some flickering on the screen. And I can't see your comments to post them, but I am reading them on have another window open, and I'm able to see them even though I can't highlight them. A lot of IQ RJ of stuff going on in the chat. Who's better? Or a lot of people agree with you, Freeze, and they actually brought this up before you did, that they think that IQ um is better. This is what I'll say to this, and I don't know if anybody can change my mind on this. I don't understand the Knicks front office. I just don't understand the Knicks front office. When you look at Quickly in the game, just with your own eyes, then you go to any metric, box plus minus, win share, like whatever defense you want to do, lineups on, off, whatever you want to look at, IQ is really, really good. And okay, I get it. The Knicks don't see him as a point guard, and so you bring in Brunson. There was some Knicks fans who argued with that before bringing in Brunson. I don't know if you can argue with that now.
Right.
They don't see him as a shooting guard either. They don't like him playing, with Brunson. I just don't get it. You got a really, really good player. And now you're asking yourself, or I'm sure the front office is asking themselves, are we going to play someone who comes off the bench, starter money? Right? That's what they're looking at. So, we'll see what happens, as far as whether or not he gets an extension, whether or not they flip him. But I'll tell you this, if they trade him, it's not going to be because he's not valuable. He
Right.
is. If they trade him, it's going to be because they can get somebody who they think is a better fit for this team, given that they have other shooting guards and backup point guards. I'll say ball hands. I'm not going to say DiVincenzo is a backup point guard, but they feel
Right.
comfortable, I would say,
Right.
playing him at that position behind Brunson. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but quickly is really, really, really good, and he's only
Really
going to
good.
get better. I understand he didn't have a good playoff series. I think that motivated him. This is somebody who's a worker, who's a studier. He looks at film.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had his best season yet and took yet another leap. And I was always on Quickly his first few years in the league
Right.
because of his shot selection and his decision making. Never about
Terrible.
his skill.
Terrible.
Never about his
Yeah.
skill. Last season, I saw him really improve in those areas, and I expect that to get even better. Right, so I'm really high on Quick, but I just think as far as improving this team, he is our number one asset as far as trade value, other than Randall and Brunson, who I don't think are going
No.
anywhere. He's number one, and I know we talk about um, moving RJ Barrett and we should trade RJ Barrett. I don't think teams are calling us about RJ Barrett. If teams are calling us, they calling us about Quickly.
Yeah. I agree with you, boss lady. I certainly agree.
Yeah.
The quickly thing though, the quickly thing, is polarizing in that even Jalen Brunson said out of his own mouth that he and Quickley at the same age, Quickley is light years better than him at the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brunson said that. Now I
Mm-hmm.
understand that you come into a new team, you want to say all the right things, you want to display leadership and all of that. But even if an ounce of that is true, then the Knicks need to value Immanuel Quickley more. Even if an ounce of it is true, even if what NBA players around the league say about Quickley, when Damian Lillard sees Quickley, he's like, "Hey man, that dude's gonna be a star in this league." So even if an ounce of that is true, then why are the Knicks looking at him as if he's not that guy? Right? It makes you wonder. Are we calibrating or recalibrating? You know, guys based on what we see on the floor, because Dre and I shout out to IKBM Dre, right? We looked up, I was looking for stats to disparage the positive thoughts on Immanuel Quickley, right? So I brought up his numbers as a starter, and I was like, this should tell the tale right here to let everybody know that he's a six man. And when we looked up his numbers as a starter, the dude is shooting 46% from the floor. He's shooting 40% from three, 87% from the free throw line, averaging 22 points a game as a starter, right? And I know people are gonna say, well, that's in limited such and such and such. Yeah, that's 26 games, right? So a small sample size would be 8 games. But if you're talking about 26 games, and then there was a stretch two seasons ago, the Quick Obi stretch where we thought they might be the future, when Quick had the triple double, the game that Obi scored 40 points, and you
Mm-hmm.
were like, I know this is just the Washington Wizards, but that was a pretty nice pass right there. The recognition, where to
Right.
throw the pass, on time, on all that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, if you're RJ, if you're the Knicks organization and you have all your eggs in an RJ basket, you should ask yourself, why? Is it just because you picked RJ third? Or does RJ Barrett show some type of next level high end potential? And
Right.
if you're the Knicks, I think you should calibrate and recalibrate your thinking on RJ, and then do the same for others on the roster, especially Immanuel Quickley and Quentin Grimes, because these guys may have more to say about the future of the Knicks than what we thought we were getting out of RJ.
Yeah, no doubt. And shout out to David L, who says Grimes is a better defender than Chuck, hands down. Listen, they may be just as good individual defenders, but I will tell you this: when you look at on off on off stats, and you look at opponent field goal percentage when certain players are in the game, and you switch out Grimes for Quickley, the Knicks are better at the rim. The Knicks are better in the defending the mid range, all mid range, short and long, and the Knicks are better defending the 3-point shot. When you go to cleaning the glass, subscription required, and you put Quickley in pretty much any lineup, all you see is variations of orange, which is good. You
Right.
put Grimes in, you see some blues. Now, all that's saying is the team is performing better with IQ on the floor and Grimes. And listen, part of that could be that IQ, if you watch him, he's like a little quarterback out there,
Yep.
in terms
Yep.
of directing people, in terms of being very vocal, in terms
Calling
of
out
the
their offensive sets. He will
right,
call out the other team offensive sets. It's amazing to watch during the game.
right, right. And his ability to switch and get back to his guy to contest a shot is uncanny. If you
It's
get an
amazing to watch.
opportunity, yeah, if you get an opportunity, if you have some games taped, you can go back and watch it. But next season, eh, take just follow Quickly for a quarter, or follow Quickly for 10
Look at the last
defensive
Boston
possessions.
game. that game that we beat Boston in overtime, go back and
Yeah.
look at that game where there was a possession where he double teamed 3 different guys, and then his guy was the guy to take the shot. And when his guy took the shot, guess who was contesting the shot?
Right.
Quickley.
You're right.
Right. So
Right.
yeah. So, and I'm not saying he's the Matrix, right? I'm not saying
Right.
he's Flash. What I'm saying is he recognizes things through film study and positions himself in a way that he can do that and be able to recover. I'm not
Right.
saying that he's doing it with all physical ability, like he's John Morant level speed. It's just he positions his body,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what his wingspan is, but I
It's
know
pretty
it
long.
has to be a factor in his defense.
It is. It is. Somebody check. I think it might be 6'8". Is it 6'8"?
Wow.
It
Wow.
might be 6'8". So to the point, David L., they may be comparable individual defenders, but the team is better when IQ is on the floor. I saw a lineup now. It was only 106, 120 possessions where Brunson was in this lineup, iHeart was in this lineup, RJ Barrett was in this lineup, Randall, and IQ. And that lineup was orange across the board
Was a
with
plus. Yeah.
Brunson, RJ, and Hartenstein. That lineup was a plus.
And Randall,
And
who we
Randall.
know takes plays off defensively.
Yeah. That,
Right. So
so I don't underestimate what he does for our team on the, on the offense, on the defensive end. But anyway, let's get to Embiid. There's a lot going on in Philadelphia with Harden and Daryl Morey. Speculation that Embiid might axe out at some point, and Philly may accommodate him.
right.
If that does happen, is he the guy the Knicks should push all of their chips? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm saying these headphones, I got to get a different set of headphones.
Yeah, I got to get some more ear pads. I like the
Yeah,
headphones, but the ear pads, I need to get the more microfiber ones.
they just trap everything in, like they're
Right,
noise canceling. So it's
right,
like no air going. You
right,
know what I'm saying?
right,
So I'm sorry about
right.
that.
That's fine. That's fine. If he becomes available, is he the guy the Knicks should push their chips to the middle of the table for? And before you answer that, I just want to make this clear, because people always say, when you trading, you trading too much and you're not going to have enough left. Anytime you're trading for a superstar, the Joker, Embiid, Giannis,
League MVPs.
league MVPs, you're going to have to give up a lot. You cannot expect to make that trade and still have a championship roster left over.
Right.
What you're banking on is that you got the best player in the deal,
Right.
and that you then can go about rebuilding the team, because
Making
the
adjustments
team is
around that
going
player.
to take a hit.
Right.
Your bench players, your depth is going to take a hit with any trade like that.
Right.
But you're banking on 2 things. One, you're not going to need a number 3 and a number 4. Like, you could get away with lesser players if you're more top heavy. That's one of the
Right.
things that you're banking on. And 2, you're banking on the fact that you're going to be able to refill the coffers, so to speak, rebuild the team.
Over
And
time.
even though the players may not be as good as a Quickley or RJ or whoever went out in the trade, you're banking on the fact that they may not need to be,
Right.
because you're top heavy now, that your bench players don't need to be as strong. So I just want to say that before everyone's talking about, oh, we're going to give up our depth. That's a given. Oh, we're not going to be as strong. That's a given.
That's a
In the
given.
immediate aftermath of the trade, that is a given.
Right.
Then you got to go about building up the team. But is he the superstar or the MVP that you would, if you were the Knicks, push your chips to the middle of the table for?
Joel Embiid is 28, right? He'll be 29 this season.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
And he's the reigning MVP. And he is a center that can create his own shot for himself and others. He's got playoff experience. He was a top 3 pick in the draft and lived up to expectations. He took a disaster of a franchise, or helped take a disaster of a franchise and bring them back to respectability. He won the league MVP at center when there is another center in this league that could have won MVP 4 straight times. I'm going to say no. Right? And I'm going to say no because of team construction. Right? Because of the way we're constructed. Not because of what Joel Embiid offers as talent. Because I think Joel Embiid still has 5 great seasons ahead of him at 28. Now, anything you get from a center that's 34, 35 years old, that's a plus. But these next 5, the 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33 season, I think he's going to, still play at a high level. And I don't care about the money. I don't care if he make $100 million a year. This dude deserves every penny, right? But if we're talking about, so here's the thing: are we keeping Randall and Brunson?
I would think you're going to keep Brunson.
Okay.
I have concerns about the fit between Embiid and Randall. They, because Embiid is not. He doesn't play just down, in the post. He plays, out as well. Randall, he plays like mid post. He can around the foul line area, and so does Randall. So I have concerns about the fit.
Threes? Can he shoot the 3?
He shot the 3. So I think 36%. I was really surprised. Can somebody look that up for me and see what was his 3-point percent? I was really surprised at that, because this is my concern, Freezie. Just overall about your best player being a center or a power forward.
Yep, I agree.
In the playoffs, it's just easier to limit their space and effectiveness. Now, it's hard to do that with a joker who can hit the 3, who can facilitate, who can hit that foul line shot. So he's the exception. But with a lot of these power forwards and centers, they play in smaller spaces. They're not somebody who could just bring the ball down the court, create their own shot. It's easier to stop them than if your best player was on the wing. Put it that way. Though that being said, I've seen Embiid hit 3s. I've seen Embiid operate at the free throw line.
He shoots 86% from the free throw line.
Yeah. And Mac S said he was just 33%, which I think is average for 3-pointers. Because remember, there's the league average for 3-point shooting, and then there's 3-point shooting per position for guards, for forwards, for centers. And I believe 33% is the league average for centers. Somebody can check that.
I think that's 30%.
30% is the league average
for center. Yeah, and I think 33 is the league average for power forwards, and then you get to 35 for everybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. I'm confident in that. I think I saw it like in July, and I may be wrong, but anyways, the fact that a 7-foot, 275-pound dude shoots 86% from the free throw line and 33% from 3, that what that means is he's going to knock down 1 in every 3 3-point attempts as a big. So floor spacing is no longer an issue. The reason why I say with Randall and Brunson is because we don't have a dynamic slashing player. So even if Joel Embiid does post, is there a guy that slashes that can take away double teams and things of that sort? I would love, if we do Joel Embiid, I would rather, and no disrespect to Randall, who I love, by the way, I would love to do a trade Randall for a slashing small forward and an athlete at the small forward position or at least something where you could have, because Grimes and Brunson on spot up threes. Joel Embiid with Brunson and Grimes as a backcourt. Joel Embiid would win as a Knick. He would probably win the next 3 MVPs because
Wow.
Jalen Brunson. What people don't know, Jalen Brunson shot 48% on spot up threes. Just kick it out to him as a spot up shooter. He shot 48%. That's almost half the shot attempts. And this is not a small sample size either. This is for an entire season. I think Grimes shot 43% as a spot up shooter. So if you double team Embiid and he finds you out as a double team, oh my goodness, all you need between them, you don't need a Randall there, because a Randall as a spot up shooter is not going to be your answer.
No.
And RJ as a spot up shooter is not going to be your answer.
No.
You would need some slashers that are threatening the rim horizontally and vertically, right? You would need a Ben Mathurin type player, somebody to play in between, somebody to be in between that. You know what I'm saying? I would say,
Yeah.
you know, I love you. You know how much we love Brandon Ingram. Like Brandon
Right.
Ingram
Right.
seems like the answer to everything.
Right.
But even a Miles Bridges, a Miles Bridges might be a fit. Who know? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But
But that's that's a good point. But the other way around too, Freezy. They off the double teams, Grimes and Brunson would feast, but there probably wouldn't be a lot of double teams because of Brunson and Grimes, which would
right,
allow Embiid to do what he does. And I just want to, like I said, I can't highlight the comments in the chat, but I can listen to it. There's some sentiment in the chat that we would be a worse team with Embiid. Now, I will say this: as much as I love Randall, and as much as I think to ascend, I think him playing well in the playoffs is the next step for him. He's not Embiid. He's not Embiid. Embiid was the MVP
yeah,
of
let's
the
relax on that.
league.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was the MVP of the league. So to say that if we'll be a worse team, if you want to say we'll be a worse team because we would have to give up so much to get him, at least initially until we rebuild the team, I can get with that. But if you're saying we're a worse team just switching out Randall for Embiid, I can't. I can't get with that. So maybe I misunderstood. Please clarify if that's what you're
no, yeah, some things are just, you know what I'm saying, I don't know if you.
yeah. Yeah, now this is the other concern. Shout out to Hit 'em Up. I appreciate you. This was my other concern, Freezy. And this could just be part of the process. Embiid hasn't been great in closeout games throughout his career. Now,
Yeah,
this is what I think, though. I think you have to master every level.
right,
So you get to the point where you're a consistent performer in the regular season at a high level. Maybe you get to the point where in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, you could play well at a high level, but it gets harder the further you go in the playoffs, and you have to master each step. So I say that to say, just because he hasn't gotten there and mastered it yet, doesn't mean he won't. Just
right,
because Randall hasn't mastered it yet doesn't mean he won't. When you look at Giannis, the same things they're saying about Embiid in Philadelphia, and shout out to Jarrell, who lives in that area, so he can give us the scoop on what Philly fans are saying about Embiid. That's the same thing they were saying in Milwaukee about Giannis.
right.
You're not a winner until you win. There was the concerns. Is he a number one? Can he
Jarrell's a
carry us?
Sixers fan.
No. He lives in Philly. So
Oh, okay,
he's
okay.
kind of plugged. He lives in Pennsylvania, I should say. So he's plugged into what they're
Okay.
saying, what
Okay.
Philly fans are saying about Embiid. But they were saying the same thing about Giannis before he won the championship in Milwaukee. Is he really a number one? Can he carry us over the top? You're going to
You know
get
they
those
used to say that.
questions until you do it.
They used to say that about Wilt Chamberlain,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I'm saying? And they used to say that about. They used to say that about Shaq. Can that style win a championship? And Shaq wound up being one of the greatest centers ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. He's no Patrick Ewing, but he is still one of the greatest centers of all time. Same thing with an Embiid, right? And Embiid, you when you look at the Sixers, you can't just look at what Joel Embiid did. Oh, Benny. Now, Benny, every time,
Shout
every
out to
time,
Benny.
every time, and Chat, every time I talk about dogs, Benny start barking. Right? Every time I start talking about dogs, Benny start barking. So let me do this real quick. Let me do this.
um, Listen, as far as Embiid in the playoffs, I think Embiid has performed well in the playoffs overall. And you can look at his regular season stats versus his playoff stats; they're comparable. I'm not going to say they're that much better, but they're comparable. But in those closeout games, you're absolutely right. He hasn't been great. But some of that again to me is in the playoffs, it's you can crowd those centers. In the playoffs, if you don't have, that guy who commands attention outside of the paint at your 1, 2, and 3, your point guard, shooting guard, a small forward position, you can crowd a Joel
Embiid, yeah.
NB because those
Yes.
guys, they're not Brunsons that can just bring the ball down, get a screen at the top of the key, split the defenders and pull up for a shot. They're going to be limited.
Let me let,
You
let,
know,
let me say this too. Let me say this too. The only man to ever stop Michael Jordan was Dean Smith at the University of North Carolina. And so what I'm saying to the reason why I bring up that point is the only men to stop Joel Embiid is Doc Rivers and Brett Brown. Joel Embiid type players are the type that when you get them, the sky is the absolute limit. When you get a center that can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, you let them do whatever they want to do, right? Like we know what Mitch is, right? Mitch is not a walk and chew bubblegum guy. Mitch is either a walk guy, stop, chew bubblegum, or chew bubblegum, stop walking, right? Because Mitch is not going to be an offensive player and a defensive player at the same time. That's just not who he is, right? Hartenstein is not that guy. With Joel Embiid, we are sitting up here, we're talking about 86% from the free throw line. He can shoot the three, rebound at a high clip. You know what I'm saying? Shoot from the floor. MVP caliber guy. You let him do whatever he wants to do. I think the reason why Philadelphia as a team didn't win is because of poor roster construction and a limited head coach, right? Because if Joel Embiid played for Eric Spoelstra or Greg Popovich or Steve Kerr, we wouldn't, and none of these narratives would exist. If Joel Embiid was the starting center for the Golden State Warriors the last 8 seasons, none of these narratives exist, right? Can he win in the playoffs? What his numbers look like, and all that stuff. And I understand what people are going to say. They're going to say, well, the Golden State Warriors have Steph Curry. That's what I'm talking about the roster construction, right? And the coach. What I'm saying, if Joel Embiid came to New York, man, and I know I said no, and I really mean no, right? But Joel Embiid in New York in the right roster construction, I feel like y'all already know. I feel like Patrick Ewing is a top 3 center all time. I think the only center better than Patrick Ewing is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Everybody else, no. You're right. I'll debate you. I'll just say top 3 just to keep the debate down, right? But I think Pat Ewing is top 2. But if you bring Joel Embiid here and let Joel Embiid be Joel Embiid, give him carte blanche to do whatever he want to do offensively. Because even limited, even sharing the basketball with James Harden, he won the MVP. And when you think back to through the last 15 seasons, what player ever since James Harden became Chef Harden, I should say, shared the floor with James Harden and thrived? You remember James Harden and Chris Paul? James Harden and Russell Westbrook, James Harden and Clint Capella. James Harden will overshadow you, suck you the energy. James Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Remember that debauchery, right? James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid won the league MVP with James Harden,
who didn't show up in Game 7, by the way,
yeah,
either,
yeah. And
and
so
historically hasn't.
and so if you can imagine Joel Embiid playing with all those selfish dudes, right? And James Harden being the king of the selfish dudes. Joel Embiid still won the MVP. Now you put Joel Embiid on a team where everybody acquiesces towards him and wants him to thrive. Imagine what those numbers look like. With Brunson giving him the ball, like, here, man, just shoot it until you pass out, or man, just go ahead and grab us 30 balls tonight, or whatever it is, right? If everybody else is complimentary, yeah. But my only thing, Queen B, is this. Yeah, I don't know the
Yeah.
Knicks. What are you willing to give up for Joel Embiid, if you don't mind me asking?
I have to be honest. Embiid is not my first choice, and
Okay.
it has nothing to do with him as a player, his skill set. I'm a little concerned about him coming into the season in shape. I think that he'll get better the more he goes to the playoffs in terms of taking it to the next level. Like, people act like soon as you get there, you're supposed to just bust through and beat this guy in the Eastern Conference Final, beat this guy in the championship. A lot of guys, it takes multiple times for them to get there in order for them to bust through. That was the same thing with Giannis,
Right.
as well. So I'm not concerned about that. I don't see that as a long-term thing.
Okay.
I'm just concerned about building around a center who can be, it's easier to game plan for in the playoffs if you're not the Joker. That's my concern.
Right.
Um, I would much more prefer if there was a superstar small forward or shooting guard somewhere in this league that we can push our chips in the middle of the table for. But that being said, I would put Randall in that trade. I think you have to. I don't really see a good fit between Embiid and Randall. I would put it this way. I would put in 3 rotation players. I would put Mitch in there as well. So I would put Randall, Mitch, probably another rotation player, and draft picks. I don't think you can get around it. If you think you're getting Embiid with Randall, Mitch, and 3 draft picks, I don't think it's happening.
Right.
I don't think it's happening. It have to be Randall, Mitch, and someone else, and multiple draft picks and even some swaps. It's going to cost a lot. It's going to cost a lot.
I'll tell you what I would do. Right. So I'm keeping at all costs. At all costs, I'm keeping Quickley, Grimes, and Brunson. Everybody else, they can go. Randall, RJ, the other Villanova guys, they can go. Mitch, Hartenstein. I mean, I don't know, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. I don't care who are. They can all go, right. They can all go, right. And then them draft picks. Man, if Philly say they want 5 firsts and 2 pick swaps, okay, all right. I don't care. Because ultimately, the picks only are good in theory, right? They're only good in trades, because when draft night comes, you notice when draft night comes, our draft picks are not as attractive because we got them on the low. We went bargain bin shopping to get them. So now they budget first, right? It's not like we traded KD to get unprotected picks from San Antonio or something. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would do. The more I talk about Embiid, the more my fascination with Embiid it comes out. I just feel like certain players need. It's like James Brown needs Maceo, right? Like James Brown needs Maceo to come out there with the cape. You know what I mean? It's just like certain performers, they need that thing to put them over the edge. Like Mike needs Scotty, right? Even though Mike was great, but he wasn't your airness without Scotty, right? So if I'm the Knicks, I'm definitely looking at some type of, if I get Embiid, I gotta go get a Miles Bridges type player. I gotta have both,
Easier
right?
said than done, Freezy. Because
I
remember,
know,
if you trade in for Embiid, you're giving up a lot of assets.
right,
You're giving
right.
up a lot of assets. You I don't know if you're gonna have enough left to, and so that's why you're in this space where we can stay as a deep team with controlled salaries at least for the next 2 years
And
and
good
hope for the
chemistry and
best,
synergy. Yep.
and hope for the best, or you can give up some of that and become top heavy and you're losing some. It's a gamble either way. It's a gamble either way because
Mm.
there's nothing to say if we stay pat, this team is growing into a championship contending team. And then if you give up some of your depth to go out and get an Embiid or another superstar, your at least the back end of your roster, maybe even the middle of your roster, is not going to be as strong. So it's a gamble either way.
I don't care if in that scenario, if I'm going to get big fella,
Hmm.
if I'm going to get big fella, and I have my eyes set on a certain goal, I'm selling out for that goal, right? Because think
Okay.
about this. In theory, if you're trading for Embiid, you don't care about draft picks because you're not rebuilding.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you're selling out for Embiid, sell all the way out. It's the reason why certain teams don't win championships, because they don't want to sacrifice their future for the present.
Hmm. Hmm.
But if you're trading for a 28-year-old center and you worried about draft picks in 2029, your GM need to be fired. It's as simple as that. Because you can't exist in two places at the same time.
Right.
You either
One or
in
the
the
other.
right now or you in the future. You,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
if I'm the Knicks, I'm going to get Embiid. I would even consider looking at Paul George, Brandon Ingram, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner. I would consider I would even consider looking at them Brooklyn boys. Getting some of them wing players,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? To
But
go with Joel
those aren't
Embiid,
the superstar. Oh, to go with Embiid. Okay, I
to go
thought you
with
meant if
Embiid,
we
yeah.
didn't get Embiid. Okay.
To go
Yes.
with Embiid,
Yeah.
I would even consider those guys for
Hmm.
to go with Joel Embiid, because ultimately, if you trade for Embiid and it doesn't work and he still puts up Joel Embiid numbers, you can trade Joel Embiid and get your draft picks back, right? And then you give it 3 years, it don't work. Joel Embiid's 31. You trade him away and get your picks back, start all over. Or you get Joel Embiid, you realize that Brunson, the evolution of Brunson. Just as a side, I just want to say this really quickly. Knicks fans, I feel like the evolution of this backcourt, I think this backcourt that we have is going to be one of the better backcourts in the NBA. This Brunson, Grimes, and Quickley is
Hmm.
going to be something special. You know what I'm saying? And I think, just as a side, it's the reason why when I mentioned Randall and RJ could go, is because of how I feel about the backcourt. I feel like Quickley with wide open threes off of a Joel Embiid double team only makes Quickley better.
Right.
Only makes Grimes better. Only makes Brunson better. My concern though, Queen B, the reason why um um I'm staunch and maybe not doing it is when you look at the total games played by Joel Embiid over his career. I'll just read them to you real quick. Right, the past 7 seasons.
Which one is first? The latest season first?
Yeah, I'm going to start
Okay.
it at this season, age 28 season, go backwards.
Okay.
All right. 66. Last year, 68. 51, 51, 64, 63. Rookie season, 31. Season before that, did not play, injury foot. Year before that, did not play, injury foot. So you don't see 70 anywhere. on this thing with Joel Embiid, and then you just gave up an iron horse and Randall, and for the most part, a injury-free guy in RJ. When RJ gets hurt, it's a freak injury, right? It's an injury that will hurt anybody, but RJ Barrett is tough. So you're giving up guys that generally play most of the games for a guy that's going to give you 80% of the season.
But you have to ask yourself, though, even with that 80%, how many playoff games? He's missed some playoff games, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you can be an Iron Man and just not be good enough when you get to the playoffs. Or
That's
you
where
can
we
be
are right now.
somebody who missed games, but if you're available for the playoffs, your team have a better chance of winning. But I get you. I will say this, and shout out to JJ. This is something I've said before. Every player that you can think about has a flaw, whether it's injury prone, whether it's their contract, whether is their
Age.
age.
Yep.
I don't think there's the perfect one for me was Donovan Mitchell in his prime, because young guys in their prime don't come along that often, and when they do, you gotta take it to the bank. But that doesn't happen often. So now you got an Embiid who's injury prone and 29 years old. You got a Paul George who's injury prone and 30 something years old. You got a cat who, I'm not saying he's available, but was mentioned earlier in the off season, who's making 60 million at some point in his contract and who people think are soft. I happen to think that environments matter. And I do happen to think that just because a player is one way in another organization doesn't mean they're going to be that way in your organization.
You ever notice, it's funny how we do that? Like you talk to a regular person and they like, man, I'm a product of my environment. And then when they look at other players, when you look at other people and they have environmental factors, they're like, nah, he's soft. Nah, she's crazy. She's great. And then, but when it comes to you, you were like, yeah, I'm a product of my environment. So yeah, I think there's hypocrisy and double standard there. I don't think I say Cat is soft only to troll. I respect Karl Anthony Towns. I understand what he is. He is a guy that's not going to be walking chew bubble gum. He's going to be offense, 3-point shooting and rebounding, and defense is optional on most nights. So,
but doesn't mean he won't be better in a defensive system that kind of holds him accountable.
Structure.
Yeah, within the more structure, that he won't be better. But the point I'm trying to make is no matter who you point to, LaVine, big contract, doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. Will he be as efficient as he was in the regular season once he starts getting into playoff, start playing playoff games? May not be the same, so no matter
can I answer that too?
Yeah.
Zach LaVine is the perfect example of every time you saw him, he was in a mediocre situation. Always. Right? What if you take that player out of that mediocre situation and put him into a championship culture, a winning culture, on a winning team? You saw at UCLA was meh. Then he went to the Timberwolves. They were struggling. You trade him to Chicago, they've never won 50 games with him, I don't think. Right? So he's never been in that structure where you can judge him. It's the same. I was texting one of my good friends, man, that I just recently got to know really well, Damon from We Talk Hawks. I was trolling him about Trae Young taking that next step to get to the next level. Can Trae Young get to that level? Where he'll be as good as Jalen Brunson or Luka, right? And I just threw that in throw Jalen Brunson and Luka in the same category just to troll him, right? and so he was like, but we did all. And my point throughout the text is we don't know what Trae Young could be in a championship culture, in a winning environment. You just don't know, right? Julius Randle, before he got to New York, put up whack looking stats because he was playing on the in the Kobe years when Kobe was 40 years old, basically still trying to play. And then he went to New Orleans, where the best player was sitting out because he didn't want to get injured because he knew he was going to the Lakers. And then you bring him here his first year. The Knicks are a mess, 9 power forwards, no true center, right? And then once the Knicks got good as a team, once the Knicks got structure, Julius Randle made the All-Star team. I don't think it's a coincidence that once you put Julius Randle in a winning situation, Julius Randle's numbers became impactful.
Right.
And so I would say the same thing for Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, all them guys. They get better when the environment is better. Karl Anthony Towns, he'll be better when the environment is better. Joel Embiid with the Knicks will be better because the environment will be better.
Right. No doubt about it. I agree with that. Anything else? Any last words? I hope you guys had a 90-minute lunch break.
Yeah. Like my people do, 90 minutes. 90 minutes. Nah, man, it's only 48 minutes. Man, come on, man. My clock worked too. Yeah, you done. The backcourt, I think this backcourt is going to be bananas this year.
Listen, a lot of it is going to depend on Grimes' improvement and Tibbs and the coaching staff allowing him to do more. He got to get that handle. And if he already has it, the coaching staff, Tibbs, have to trust him. You cannot have somebody playing a 2 guard who can't handle the ball. You just
or
can't.
don't trust them. You got Tibbs.
Right.
You got to trust Grimes, bro. You got to get out of this thing where you don't trust young players in certain situations. And when I went back, I was mad at Grimes for a game. I was thinking he lost us the Dallas game. Mm-hmm. Remember the Dallas game where he caught the ball in the backcourt and he wouldn't dribble? And they came, and I think Tim Hardaway came and tied him up, and the jump ball went to the Mavericks, and then Christian Wood hit the 3 to give Dallas the lead.
Right.
And so I was looking at it, I was like, why ain't he dribbling? And then I looked and I saw Tom Thibodeau screaming, stop, no. So did Grimes lose us that? Or was that Tom Thibodeau not trusting his players? So I want to apologize to Grimes because for months I thought Grimes lost us that game, and I was looking for that clip so that I can show everybody that Grimes lost us that game. But then I saw Tom Thibodeau running out of the coach's box, yelling at Grimes to stop, and Grimes stopped and held the ball, and it wound up being a tied possession. Dallas wins the tip. Christian Wood hits the 3, and the Knicks wind up losing eventually.
Yeah. Well, listen, I saw Grimes in the playoffs, and I'm not going to apologize to him against Miami. Pick up the ball multiple times before he had somebody to pass to. Yeah. So, part of it could be them not having confidence in him, but part of it could be them not having confidence in him for a reason, as far as the ball handling is concerned. Maybe he's not that confident, handling the ball. I saw him pick the ball. I'm like, why are you picking up the ball? Looking for somebody to pass to. Like, what are you doing?
I saw him almost get a backcourt violation, passing it to Obi. And I'm like, why is a guard passing it to a backup power forward and almost get a turnover?
Right.
Why?
Right. So he's been working out with Penny Hardaway, by the way. So hopefully he'll be better.
So Queen Bee, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm ignoring all of that. I'm ignoring all the JJ. Oh, he worked out with JJ Redick, and he was on the USA Select team. He worked out with Penny. I'm ignoring all of that, right? And just I'm just gonna hold on to Quentin Grimes is gonna be. Chat, don't kill me for this because I know a lot of y'all not even gonna remember who this guy is. But I think Quentin Grimes is going to be the Byron Scott of the New York Knicks. A 6'4", 6'5", semi-athletic defender. Byron Scott was more athletic, but defender that can shoot the 3, knock down wide open shots, and D up point guards, shooting guards, and small forwards. That's what I think he is. Byron the Frenchman Scott. For those of us in our 50s that remember the Showtime Lakers, Byron Scott, number 4 for the Lakers. Think him when you think Quentin Grimes. Don't think Klay Thompson.
Right. But only thing I'll say is that Grimes got to get tough because Byron Scott was nails. He was tough as nails.
Yeah.
So and maybe Grimes is as well, and maybe, he was just
That
getting
look on his
acclimated
face
to his
in that
role.
Cleveland game, though. Remember, he got elbowed in the lip, and he was looking like a summer camp kid that fell off a tree. Remember that? The look on his face.
Wondering why nobody came to his defense.
Where's mommy at? Where's mommy at?
Yeah, he got to get tough.
Yeah, he got to get tough.
He got to get tougher.
He need to grow a beard or something. Grimes need to get a tattoo or something. Grimes, you gotta do something, brother. You gotta. Perception is reality with a lot of stuff, Grimes. And I know Grimes hate my guts, so I got it back channel that Grimes hates Uncle Freezie with a passion. And I'm like, why does Grimes hate me? What did I do to Grimes? What did I do to Grimes? How does Grimes hate a random YouTuber?
Right.
I'm just a random YouTuber. So I got that from back channel. You know what I'm saying? That Grimes hates my guts.
Oh wow.
Why would Grimes hate me? I ain't did nothing to Quentin Grimes.
Wow.
So, but anyway, Grimes probably the reason why my notifications don't go out on YouTube. What did I do to Quentin Grimes, brother? I ain't do nothing to Quentin Grimes.
No doubt. All right, we about to get out of here. I'm gonna drop. So tonight we're going on Dope Soul Sports Talk. We're gonna combine the call-in show, the CRAM to Understand Your call-in show, with the weekly show. I wasn't able to go on Tuesday. We're talking Tom Thibodeau. And about another hour or two, I'll drop the podcast I did with Simeon Russell talking about Tibbs. So wherever you listen to your podcast, just look for the Just Nicking It show, and you'll see all of the podcasts, including the latest one I'm about to upload with Simeon Russell. Then we're going on tonight around 9:15. I came down here, Freezie, and I left my Rodecaster where I would be able to take calls. So now, tonight, you guys, don't be camera shy. I don't think you're going to be able to call in unless I get ghetto and have the phone and hold it.
Yeah.
And hold it to the mic.
The early days.
The early days. So
the early days
I might have to just drop the link and you guys just hop onto the panel real quick. But that Mitchell Robinson show was fire. So I'm hoping the same thing with Tom Thibodeau. So that's tonight at 9:30. What you got going on, boss?
So I'm doing a conspiracy theory show on Vibes and stuff tonight about 8:00. Right. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the Knicks at Night podcast later on. Okay. So yeah, and which I'm gonna talk about Grimes and IQ and Brunson being our championship triumvirate of guards going forward. Okay. So yeah. And so, but real quick before we get out of here, in about 10 seconds, should I apologize to Quentin Grimes for something? Why is Quentin Grimes so mad at me?
I don't know. Anthony D said maybe you should stop calling him a ham sandwich, but I think you stopped that.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Yo, Quentin Grimes, you got to be an adult, bro. You got to be a professional. Come on, bro. Come on, Grimes.
I mean, apparently, they listen behind. Either they listening or they have people listening for them.
Oh, however it go, Quentin Grimes should not. How do you hate Uncle Freezie, bro? Come on. That's ridiculous, bro. That's ridiculous. Quentin Grimes. Come on, Quentin Grimes. So, but
yeah, I'm dropping the link to the Just Nicking It podcast. And this will have all of the ones I've done so far. But again, wherever you get your podcast, if you search for the Just Nicking It
and download and subscribe. So every time the thing, it's gonna be like it's gonna pop up on your noties, right? Hey, there's a new episode of, you know what I'm saying? And then when you get the notie, just download it. You know what I'm saying? That helps out. That helps out Queen B and others, so that we can pay some bills and help keep providing content. Because I know it seems like it's free, but it's free for the listeners. It ain't free for us. You know what I'm saying? We be paying, we be having bills to pay to provide this stuff. So if you just do the basic, the minimum stuff, you know what I'm saying? Not asking y'all to go in y'all pockets and all that stuff. If that's what you want to do that. But the baseline minimum stuff, like hitting the like button, downloading, come on, y'all.
Right. Yeah. So I think I'm going to do, the chat show has been going well. So I'm thinking during the season, I think I may have a chat show.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking about, do I want to get the Roadcaster Duo, which is a smaller Roadcaster, because my office in Brooklyn is smaller than I'm here in Georgia, is bigger. Right. So I'm gonna bring the big one down here, and I'll have the smaller one, in my smaller office. It's $500. It's $499.
Yes.
And I'm like, but I want to get it because I want to do the chat shows. They're so fun. Yeah.
Right.
But it costs.
So chat, basically, hit the download the stuff, hit the like button so that we can improve the show through advertising dollars and through other things, you know what I'm saying, so that we can improve the experience for everyone. You know what I'm saying? Because I know y'all like when the shows be lit, and we like when we enjoy it too. So whatever you can do to help support, do that. Not asking y'all to go into your retirement account and fund something. But if there are some things that you can do that's just normal stuff, like hit the like button, do that.
Yeah, we had 100 in here. We got 63 likes. So if you're near your like button, some people are driving, listening to the show. You may not be near your like button, but if you're by your like button, hit the like button.
Right.
That definitely helps the show. What that does is your reach grows. When you go to YouTube, they have the recommended videos. You get enough likes, they start recommending the show to others, and that grows the audience.
Yep.
Definitely. But Freezie, I appreciate you. The chat, I appreciate you guys. Always a pleasure. Hopefully I'll see you guys tonight at 9:15.
Yep. Grimes, get over it, bro. Get over it, Grimes. All right, y'all.
You tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe. Feel that? The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Right now. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul Sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, Brooklyn. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. Step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey.